All right, we are going to get started. So welcome to Leveling Up with Qnity. We're so excited to share an incredible success story with you today. Before we get started, I'll just introduce myself. My name is Candice Gliatto. I am a Qnity educator and coach. I am also a salon owner. I own Citrus Salon located in the Bay Area in California and in Portland, Oregon. I am so excited to be here with one of my very special friends, Francie, who's going to be telling us her story later today. If you are new to Qnity, a little bit about what it is that we do. So Qnity provides systems, tools, and education to help drive growth, execution, and profitability within your business. Now, there are several different services that we offer, including our circle community, which is our mastermind groups, coaching with either in a one-on-one setting or in a group setting. We have an amazing financial literacy curriculum called Money Pro. And then we also have live workshops that support growth, execution, and profitability in salon and spa businesses. And upcoming, we have our annual Phil conference, which is an incredible opportunity for all of our Qnity community to come together and learn how to close the gaps in their business. Now, our agenda for today is to introduce you to the 5 gaps in business. This is one of our Qnity methodologies, which helps us identify where our greatest opportunities to help grow and drive our business are. Today's gap focus is the profitability gap. Then I'm going to introduce you to my friend Francie, who's going to share her incredible story with us. And then we're going to open it up for you to be able to use the chat to ask some questions to myself or Francie. Now, let's get started by going through what these 5 gaps are. So the 5 gaps of business are engagement, execution, leadership, growth, and profitability. Let's just go a tiny bit deeper into what each one of these gaps means before we dive deep into profitability. Now, engagement is really how we identify what the connection between our team, ourselves, and our company and our clients all looks like. So how tied to the business, how engaged with the business is your team? Then there's execution. Execution means, do we execute the plans that we create for our business? Do we get done what we say we're going to get done? And do we have a system to support that work? Our next gap is leadership. So how effective and impactful are we as salon owners and leaders? Are we great communicators? Are we doing a great job inspiring and motivating and managing our teams? The next gap is growth. And when we're talking about growth, although there are several areas a salon or spa can grow, we're talking about sales growth. Are we driving new clients and existing clients through our business? And are they spending their time and their money on products, services, all of that? Are we really utilizing all the ability that our business provides for us? And then our last gap and our gap focus for today, profitability. Profitability is not just about driving money in, it's also about managing the money going out so that we've got a nice, healthy bottom line. And that's where we're really going to focus on today. Now, before we get into the profit gap, I want you to think about those 5 gaps that I just quickly introduced. And I want you to consider how they're showing up in your business. And if you've got a pen next to you, go ahead and pick up a piece of paper. And I want you to write down what your greatest strength, and I'll put those 5 gaps back up. Actually, I'm going to ask you to put it in the chat. You can also write it down so you can remember it for later as something to stay focused on. But I want you to open up the chat and I want you to write which gap is your greatest strength and which gap is your greatest opportunity. Where do we have the most work to do? So I'll put these back up on the screen: engagement, execution, leadership, growth, and profitability. Go ahead and type in the chat where your strength and opportunity is. So as we do that, I'm going to share with you a little bit more about the profitability gap. Now, as I shared before, profit is all about managing the money in and managing the money out. And I want to ask you a little quiz here, and you can use the chat here too. What do you think the average profitability of a salon in the US is? What's your guess? Go ahead and put that in the chat too. I'll give you a couple seconds to think about it. Let's see what we got. We've got some people sharing their strength and opportunity, growth and profitability. Renee, you're in the right place. Opportunity, profitability. Kat, also in the right place. All right, now let's see if we don't have any guesses yet, but I'm going to go ahead and share the answer here. The average profitability of a salon in the US is between 2 and 5%. Now, that may or may not come to as a surprise to all of you, but it's showing us that there's absolutely a need here to really lean into learning and identify where our opportunities as an industry and as salon owners to become more profitable is. Look, 66% of small businesses are facing financial challenges, and 43% of those businesses are claiming that the most prominent challenge is in covering their operating expenses. Is this something you can relate to? I know I can. Now, when it comes to driving profitability, it really is important that we have a good grasp on what we call our finance function. So these are the really important activities that are showing up as it relates to driving and managing profitability. So cash management, the cost structures that we have in place, making sure that we're managing our inventory, that our reports are accurate and timely. Are we budgeting? Are we projecting and identifying what the future looks like for us? And do we have a strategy in place to help drive profitability? Now, at Qnity, we provide a suite of grid-based tactile learning tools that are really created with the intention of helping creatives identify the work that they need to get done and go from knowing that they need to get this work done to actually getting these things done. And we'll share with you today how Francie was able to use a lot of these tools to be able to drive profitability in her business. So I'm so excited to introduce you to Francie. So Francie is the owner of Hello Salon in Tulsa, Oklahoma. She is an incredible human being who I have had the honor of getting so close to over the last several years. Francie, why don't you go ahead and come off mute and say hello and tell us a little bit about yourself and your business.
Hi, I'm just so excited to be here. It feels a little unbelievable to be here talking about profitability, because when you're going through the 5 gaps and trying to figure out which one you had the most growth opportunity in, profitability was mine. So I'm a seasoned hairdresser. I'm still behind the chair. I've been doing hair 23 years, which seems crazy. Owning the salon coming up on 8 years this July, and I've got 10 team members. That's including me, because I'm still behind the chair. So
Francie, thank you so much for being here. So Francie and I, we met about 3 years ago now. We've been working together. And Francie, how'd you get involved with Qnity? How did you get connected with us?
Well, I had gone to Serious Business through NIL down in Louisiana, and you guys were one of the breakout sessions. So I had gone there with my old business partner at the time, just to try to kind of expand our business information and just how we were running our business at the time, and just kind of learn some new things, new tricks. And when you guys popped up as one of the breakout sessions, it spoke to me, just because you guys were talking about the 5 gaps and the opportunities you can have for growth and just feeling overwhelmed as a business owner. And I was very much that at that point. So I wanted to learn all the tricks to not feel overwhelmed and be overextended, and just have a little more, life work balance. And So I was excited to come in, and you were the guest speaker with Tom at that breakout session. So that was my first introduction to Qnity, which was a great one.
Yeah, one of the things I love about what we're doing today, today Francie's going to tell her story, and how Francie and I met was years ago when I was telling my story about how I used Qnity tools to help transform my own business. And so, Francie, I'm just going to kind of set it up. We're gonna dive right into your story here, and what we want to do is really share with the audience here kind of where you were at, what was going on in your business. You had a really specific kind of series of events that had occurred over a short period of time when you were just starting out. So I'm going to go ahead, I'll populate these on the screen here, but why don't you just tell us a little bit about where you were, what was going on, and kind of what life was like around that time before you started your journey in profitability.
Yeah, so when I met you guys at a serious business, that was it 2020, right before COVID hit. So I still had my partner who was very involved. Obviously, on the screen it says managed operations and finances. I was more in education and that kind of, running the meetings and that kind of stuff. I was feeling a little bit lost at the time, not having that financial management experience. One of the things I had shared with Candice was that I had never ran payroll myself or opened up QuickBooks at that time. And so when my business partner left, it was a little bit of a quick split. She moved out of state. And so I was left not having any direction on how to take over those responsibilities. So I actually called payroll the day I had to run it and asked them to help me learn how to run payroll. So I was very lost on that one. Working 50 hours behind the chair. I was not getting paid as an owner. I was just solely earning my income based behind the chair. So I really was working pretty hard. And then I also had to pick up that load when my business partner left. The financial load of just kind of keeping the doors open. And then no leadership support. It was very scary to run a team by yourself. When I'd had my business partner, I at least had someone to kind of bounce ideas off of, and we kind of would meet about things. But when I was kind of left on my own, it was just a lot running a team and trying to figure out what they all needed and how we could grow. The zero profitability was very stressful, again, trying to keep the doors open. That's why I was working 50 hours a week trying to do that and not be tired and stressed, but I was very much overloaded on all the things that needed to be done and just feeling like there was this huge, ginormous list of things that I just didn't know how to weed out what I needed to even start. I knew they all needed to be done, but the little bits that needed to be like taken out first and really kind of take control of those to be able to make everything else make sense that I could get to the rest of it was just overwhelming, to say the least.
So what I'm hearing you say is basically you started out your business. Hello, you started with a partner,
Yes.
and and it's a beautiful thing sometimes when it works out that we have our different strengths. And it sounds like your partner was more in the kind of, as we would say, left brain type things, the finance, the operational piece. And really, you brought a lot of creativity and inspiration, that sort of strength to the business. But when you found yourself no longer with this partner,
Mhm.
you had to lean into those more linear parts of your business, including financial management. And as we were preparing for this, you shared with me, I hadn't
Yeah.
even opened QuickBooks
Yes.
until she left.
Yeah, yeah. It was very intimidating. I graduated, high school and then went right into hospitality school at 19. And I don't have any background in any kind of finance or, business management of any kind. And so it just seemed so overwhelming and just like I couldn't even begin to know where to start. And because she had taken care of it for so long, I just kind of leaned on her to do that. And obviously she leaned on me, but it was, all meant to be the way it was supposed to fall into place. It was definitely at a point in my life where I needed to start being uncomfortable and lean into the uncomfortable. So as I am,
And
sure.
you were uncomfortable. You were uncomfortable.
Really.
And that's okay. And a lot of people are. And that's why I think it's so beautiful. And I appreciate you telling your story so much, because there are a lot of things that we don't know are going to come up until they come up, you
Right.
know. And working 50 hours behind the chair while you are running a business is a really big deal. And so, this is where you were at when we met. And this video that I took a little screen grab from a video you had posted on Instagram long ago, where you were kind of going through it, talking about how, oh my gosh, I am just feeling the weight right now.
Yeah.
But that didn't last forever, because you really pushed through and you made some huge changes. And so, just to fast forward to the end of Francie's story, and we're going to tell you about how she did this, but she went from feeling all of those ways that we just went through and being 0% profitability to today being 19% profitability. Now that is a big deal, because just a few minutes ago, we shared what the average profit in a salon looks like these days. And so for you to be at 19% is pretty incredible.
Yeah.
And it wasn't by luck, it was by action. And as we were preparing for today, I was going through your Instagram and finding some old photos that we had shared over the years. And long ago, you posted this quote.
Yes. Yeah.
The difference between who you are and who you want to be is what you do. Tell me about what this meant to you at that time.
Well, I just knew nobody was going to change, my story unless I did it myself. We had talked about it, as a business owner, nobody really cares as much as you do. And you're always kind of the driving force between it, between yourself and your employees and everything that's going on. But I just read that and I just thought, that's so true. It's like, I have to put in the hard work. I have to learn. Like I said, I had to lean into the uncomfortable parts. Profitability, finance is not my strong suit whatsoever. But also all the other gaps, I needed a lot of work in all of them. And obviously when you put that whole package together, they really do work well together. But I think that just spoke to me so much. I think just because it resonated with me, because I knew I was going to have to dig my heels in and get going and do the hard work.
Yeah. Okay. So let's share with everybody what that hard work looked like, because I'm sure everybody's dying to go, well, how the heck did you go from there to there? So we're going to share that part of the story too. And so I've just picked some of the bigger milestones. Francie has done an immense amount of work to create this massive shift in her business, but she's done it with support. Okay. And so I want to share with you some of the bigger moves that Francie has made over the last few years. First one was in the people that you had on your team, right? So I love this picture. This is from us working together long ago. You started working with a coach. You also started working with a new finance team, right? So tell me just a couple of a brief overview of what that was like for you.
Well, I knew I needed some support on just getting on the right track and getting the tools that I needed, which Qnity obviously helps me with. And then when I hired my professional finance team, I got a CPA, and he kind of got my QuickBooks cleaned up and more on track. And then with Qnity, you have your budget, P&L, what's the word I'm looking for? Benchmarks. Thank you.
Yeah.
My goodness.
Yeah.
Yes, benchmarks. The benchmarks, and he just outlined the benchmarks on my QuickBooks to what Qnity's benchmarks were, and that was very helpful. So just
you had some of the right people on your team. You started leaning into, okay, I got to get some support if I'm going to learn and lean in and learn these things that I haven't learned before.
Yes.
And then internally, what was going on in your salon? You made some big moves with your team too.
Yes. Yeah. So post-COVID, I did lose quite a few of my employees, and we were down, I would say average like 3 to 5 employees at the time. And now over the course of last year, I've doubled up to 10 people. And just really focusing on my culture and what I wanted Hello to be really helped drive in the right people that were going to want to align with what I wanted for them and growth and for the salon. And just doing some of the little team goal there. It was around Christmas for Naughty or Nice. We had a big goal that we wanted to hit, and Cameron and Rob here using their tracking systems just really helped drive those sales growth that they wanted to see, which, if I'm growing, they're growing and vice versa, which is always a great feeling.
Yeah. So, we're talking about the profit gap, but the first couple of moves that you made were with your team, right? Because one thing that you may or may not have put together, if the gaps are new to you, is that they're all connected,
Yeah.
right? When certain gaps will impact others, and an engaged team, and certainly a team that's engaged in sales. And so you did a lot of work to create clarity for your team around how they could impact their numbers. All of that is going to ultimately lead to stronger profitability. Now, speaking of team, you also were on your own. You had no leadership support, and now you do. So
Yeah.
tell me a little bit about this.
So when I hired Rob on, one of my concerns just was how am I going to afford to pay somebody to help me? But, long term, one of the cool things that came out of it, I mean, he's learned so much about, you know, increasing his financial literacy, which is a good feeling. But at the end, like he really takes parts that I'm still not really great at and maybe just really don't have the bandwidth to add it to my list of important things. So he can take over those pieces for me. So he takes care of like back bar and all the ordering, making sure those stay within those benchmark numbers, which has helped us make money and save money. So it's increased our growth on both parts, just letting him take over that piece. And it's a small piece, but it's so impactful. So,
So you developed this manager role.
mhm,
You identified that you could support it. And
mhm,
then Rob, who is just an incredible,
yeah,
partner in crime for you here, he took on this role. And not only did you find space in your budget to bring this type of support in, but he also helps you with the finance function now. And so this is just an example of, a one Qnity tool that Rob completely on his own is now utilizing on behalf of Hello to help make sure that your supplies and all of that are within budget
mhm,
on a weekly basis. And so now all of a sudden things are starting to come together. You've got some support in all of the functions. You've got another leader. You started a habit streak, which is a term we use a lot here at Qnity, of tracking your sales and of doing weekly savings transfers.
yes.
Okay. So you've been doing a weekly savings transfer for how long? How many weeks have you been doing your transfer? Do you know?
I don't. It was that whenever I left Money SBO, I started that. So I think was that in 2022?
So September of 2022. So
Yep.
you've been saving money since September of 2022,
Yeah,
every single week. And Rob helps you support that too. He helps you with the
yeah,
math.
we actually had a meeting this morning and went over the benchmarks for his portion and kind of looked at some others just because we're at the end of the quarter, rolling into a new quarter and the adjustments that we might need to make. And so when we look at this, he usually does our Tuesday trackers, which I know you'll talk about at some point, but he gets the Tuesday trackers together and then takes care of his portion. And then I roll that into this weekly transfer, which is honestly one of my favorite days because I get to see all the numbers and then I get to transfer. So I started at 3% tracking just because that seemed comfortable
And
for
so
me.
this is 3%. Sorry to interrupt. 3% of sales. So every week you take 3% of sales and you move it into a separate savings account. This is one of your, okay.
Yeah, so 3%. And then recently, I think it was mid or end of last year, I switched it over to 5% just because we were having so much growth. And obviously my profitability is high, so I figured why not move it over?
Mhm.
Do you want me to share what that is, just since
If you want to, yeah. So this is Francie. Are you okay with sharing this number?
yeah,
Okay.
the savings part is fun because I think I just kind of thought, well, it's just small little chipping away. It's not going to make that big of a difference. And it's exciting when I open it up, but I've saved almost 22,000 since I went to Money SBO just in my savings.
So going from, not having much left over to even distribute to yourself to being able to put away just a little bit of money every single week, and look how much it's added up. You've now saved over $20,000 just
Yeah.
from really committing to this best practice.
Yeah.
Now, you touched a little bit on team culture. A big piece of the growth equation is being able to have the staffing to support the client count that you need to have to drive your business and drive your sales. So you also created a team recruitment strategy.
Yeah.
And for those of you that may not be familiar, at Qnity, we use a tool called a 9 grid. And this is looking like a 9 grid here. So you created a 9 grid around what your salon offers. How
Mhm.
many people over the last couple of years have you recruited successfully using this strategy that we see on the screen?
Well, I would say nine, well, 8 of the 10, there's me and Rob, and that was pre me creating this recruitment strategy. So 8 of my 10 were since I've created this. One of the things that I love about it is I pull this when I'm struggling to figure out what I want to post on social media, even. I do
Mhm.
share it, it's in my handbook. I usually hand it out just during interviews. I use it for reference during interview times just to kind of like capture little snippets of things that are important for me to talk about. I use it in a lot of different ways than just recruitment. But it hangs on my wall, it's in my phone. It's kind of my
Mhm.
go-to if I'm struggling to know what to say during an interview or any of the social media stuff. Social media is so hard. But
Well, and
yeah,
it certainly has been effective too, because you started by identifying really what the type of team member you want to have join your team is. And so not only have you been successful in your recruitment, in finding people to come join your team, but you've also found the right people,
Mhm.
which has ultimately supported the growth of your company as in a very, very profound way.
Yes,
And you touched on this earlier, so I won't spend too much time on it. But also, as you learned more about financial management, you did develop and implement a full P&L budget. So
yes,
you've got a plan for every dollar that comes in and out of your business. Now,
yes,
just for a second, let's rewind back to Francie, who had never opened QuickBooks before. So
yes.
we're going from Francie who never opened QuickBooks before to Francie who developed her and implemented her own full operating budget. What does this budget do for you? Like what is having this tool make possible for you?
You asked me that the other day and I thought, I'm not a great cook, so I would say cooking and profitability and finance are kind of the same for me. I feel like it's kind of like a recipe sort of for the guideline of like what I need to look at and what to focus on. I know, I feel like salon pace is just so fast and we move through our day so fast. And so it's nice to have this. I actually have ours hung up next to Rob and I's desk, and it's a good way when we're just discussing marketing or anything like that. We can just turn and look at it and say, okay, this is our budget. This is what we have projected, our retail and our service sales are going to be. And so we can pull those numbers, and it's just an easier, quicker way to know the picture we've painted for our year, and what we need to stay focused on. But obviously, when we're trying to spend money, it gives us a good, safe space to know that we're not going to overspend and extend the business too far on our
Yeah.
expenses.
It also created, some clarity for you because, okay, let's not forget the reason why a lot of people are here wanting to hear your story is how the heck did she stop working 50 hours a week behind the chair?
Yeah.
And so when you got a budget built out, you're able to, and I know because I was kind of alongside you as you were going through this process, we were able to start forecasting what would the financial situation look like if we remove the service dollars that Francie brings in.
Yes.
And so we did that over time, and we created a phased plan for you to transition out of working behind the chair. So tell everybody a little bit about how you were able to put that phased plan into practice and be able to dial back your service hours without that fear of, oh my gosh, what is this going to do to the bottom line?
Right. So one thing, the P&L with my CPA now, she actually does two separate P&Ls. So I have one with me and one without me, so I can really see the difference, which is super helpful. So we look at that every single month. So as I kind of chipped away, we could kind of see what dropped or if it shifted or, if clients stayed with other employees. But I would say mostly just allowing me to see with me stepping back how it was affecting the business on a profit side. If it was something that was willing to kind of shift and allow to happen, and then we just had to adjust to make that okay. I found the more I step back, the salon is more successful because I have a little more time to focus on the salon side of things that really need me. And also with my teammates, I feel like like with Rob, he sees it and they kind of give me the support, the emotional support to say, hey, it's okay to like step back and not be so involved behind the chair, which is really nice. Um,
Yeah, it makes a huge difference. In fact, I'm gonna stop sharing for just a second so we can talk about this more, because this is one of the big pieces here. It's like, how did you make this transition? And so, yeah, you had tools and you did the math so that you had the numbers. You also did it one step at a time. So you went from working, 50 hours to working 40 hours and then to working 30 hours. And so when you did it in those phases, it created confidence for you, right?
yeah, absolutely.
And
Well, the
so,
other piece was it's not, not being able to get behind the chair was because all my money was coming from behind the chairs. So when I started seeing the profit and allowed myself to pay myself to be an owner, which is just crazy to own a business and not get paid to own it,
yeah, it's
it
a lot of work.
right, yeah. So it made it less exhausting that I was making some money that made it, worth it. I mean, the feel goods are there, and I know I love growing my team and the culture and everything, but at the end of the day, we go to work to make money to support our family, and I'm a mom of two and I have a husband who works a lot. And so it was just very fulfilling for me to be able to finally say I can pay myself and find that balance between what I was making behind the chair and making behind, I say behind the desk as an owner. So
Yeah, absolutely. And it's exhausting. And look, you've got, and I think there's a big part of this story too, is you own your salon, you're also a mom,
yeah,
right? And
yes.
so, all of that time that you're spending behind the chair, like, it kind of takes you away from some of the things that are the most important things in your life. And
Yeah.
that's that's where your business starts to get to a point where it's not your friend anymore. So how
No,
are you
no.
feeling at that point?
It was definitely not my friend anymore. I was, I had a lot going on, I think, as everybody did post-COVID. But it really kind of sent me into a place where I was just having a lot of anxiety about everything and being able to grow my teammates and not really knowing how to do that. But I think just feeling, like you said, just more confident and being able to sit behind a computer and know what I'm looking at was just very gratifying, and little, moments where I could celebrate myself and my hard work. It's nice to see it show up there and the growth in the team. But yeah, just being able to sit back, have hobbies again and take my kids. I actually got to pull them out of aftercare, and I pick them up at school every day now. And I just found a better work-life balance. Um,
Yeah. Well,
so
we have this term that we use at Qnity. We call it ATM. Okay, and ATM is all about the currencies that we spend in life: our attention, our time, and our money. And so, the work that you did, and anybody that's watching is listening to these big initiatives that Francie took on over the last few years. They're thinking, how did you even fit that in? you
mhm,
know and so, you were making an investment of your time. Certainly, you worked hard on these projects. An investment of your money. You invested in a new leader, you invested in a new professional team, um and a lot of attention towards the team, a lot of attention towards, learning new best practices. And so, I'd love to share what that looked like some data here around what your return on that investment of your attention and time and money is. And so, the first thing, here you are, Francie. Francie, you won an Impact Award at the Phil in 2022. So
mhm,
you're certainly being recognized for all of your hard work.
yeah,
As it relates to growth, so in 2023, your sales grew 30%.
yes,
That's incredible. That's
yes,
incredible. You've grown your team, you've grown each individual on your team. So your sales have grown 30% while your service hours behind the chair have declined by
Yes.
75%.
Yes, thankfully.
Can you
Yeah.
believe it? Would you ever thought that was possible?
No, no, I'm not. No. And I think the other thing too is like when I would think about the P&L and trying to pay, and spend my time and invest in all these things, it seemed overwhelming even doing that. It was like I remember the first time I talked to Erin, she was like, "How can we help you?" And I said, "In any way, shape, or form, I will take any help I can get at this point." But she said, we kind of started talking about the cost with Qnity, and I was like, I don't know if I can, I don't even know if I can afford that yet. And then working with you guys, I learned very quickly that I can, and it's easy to afford those things when you have the budget line items where they're supposed to be. So, um,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, absolutely. And so let's talk profit, because growth is one thing. And so we know we talked about this while you were prepping, the first year while you were putting all of that work into place that we just went through was 2022.
yeah,
And so you didn't see a decline in sales, but you were backing away from working behind the chair. In fact, you made a pretty big move. You went from, working full time to behind the chair to working, I think maybe 20 hours a week or 25 hours a week. And so your sales about leveled off.
mhm,
However, because of the way that you approached financial management, even
yes,
though sales didn't grow, your profit went from 0 to 13.5%
yeah. I remember
just
hearing
from
that.
managing the money out.
Yeah, I remember hearing the average was 2 to 5, and I was just like, man, I'm gonna hit that 5 and I'm gonna hold steady and I'm gonna be one of those the higher of the average. I wanted that so bad. So I remember seeing that number the first time and I was just floored. I was like, we're just getting started. I'm excited.
Yep, yep. And this is you, speaking of learning to manage money, this is you and some other of our Qnity community members at the Money SBO workshop. This is one of our live workshops that we offer. You were at the very first one. That's when your tracking and transferring your savings transfers streak started. So you got these things into place in 2022. You were really driving all of the tools and methodologies through 2023. We got 2023's numbers back, and profitability was even better, 19%.
Yes.
So congratulations.
Thank you.
This is a really such an incredible milestone. And your story is so powerful. And yes, you absolutely transformed your business, but also your life. So you're working behind the chair in 2021, 50 hours a week. Francie, how many hours are you working behind the chair now?
Well, I think, yeah, 12. I was going to say I've just taken Wednesdays off again. So 2 days a week now. I start at 8 and finish roughly around 2:30. So yeah, easy peasy.
Easy peasy, she says. So Francie, your family.
Mhm.
I know you personally. Your family means so much to you. And
Yeah.
having that time back. Tell me a little bit about, you said you shared something the other day about what that time has really done for you. Tell me that part again.
Without crying this time. Um,
Without crying. There were some
I
tears.
know,
There were some
I pulled those
tears.
pictures up of my kids and my husband. Got me. No, I think, you don't get time back with your family. And that's really, honestly, I mean, I love my job and I love doing hair. It's my passion. I started at 19, but where I'm at in my life now and having 2 small children and my wonderful husband who's so supportive of all of this, but it's just, you don't get that time back with them. And so that's why we go to work, to be able to support our family and go and do the things that we want to do. And my kiddos in that picture, we were on a big vacation, actually on my way to go see my husband. He was doing some stuff out of town. And so we were on our way to visit him. And I just, the memories you build with them. And getting to go do fun things and date nights. And, that just seemed so unattainable at the time. I was just so overwhelmed. I was, working after they go to bed, and I'd work at 5 a.m. in the morning before they get up. And that didn't leave a lot of the best of me for them, all three of them. And now the best of me goes to them. And then, finding the time to do the things that I love. Found a new hobby. I started making jewelry, and
Oh yeah, so all these rings over here on Francie's hands, she made all of those. So not only are you spending more time with your family, you're doing things that fulfill you. So
yeah.
yeah, tell me, so you're taking classes, right?
Yeah, I take some classes with the jewelry. They're about one or two a year, but I set up a whole shop at home where now I've got a big workbench that I just kind of go and disappear when I need to, and make more. So, but yeah, rings are kind of my thing. I'm also a big gardener, so this weekend, instead of working like I normally probably would have, I spent a couple days out in the yard and did some pots with my son. He's kind of falling in love with plants like I am. He actually is going to be a planter like you. So, just getting that time back with them and just feeling so much more relaxed and really intentional with my time with them, and not feeling like I'm being pulled both directions all the
Yeah,
time. Yeah,
yeah.
it's a gift that I just never thought I was going to get. And here we are. So,
Well, I'm so happy for you, Francie, and you've done such an incredible job. And those of you that have been following on along and watching throughout this, like, um, certainly not without putting in a lot of work. And so, I want to just tell you how much I admire you for all of the leaning into the hard stuff that
yeah.
you did, and it's so funny because every time I talk to Francie, she goes, I don't know about that. And then, she does it, she comes back, just wasn't that bad. It wasn't that bad.
Yeah.
And so you really had a willingness to learn and a willingness to work hard and really dig your heels in where it mattered most. And now you've got things into place. And so how are you feeling about your business now? How are things today?
They're great. Everybody's growing. I actually showed up today just to like pop in before this call just to make sure everything was going good. And some of the girls were doing some education, and some were working behind the chair. And Rob and I had our meeting, and we just, with the amount of profitability we just have so much room to grow. And I really feel like last year we really found our true foundation for just more growth. So like, who knows what's to come from that? We've been talking about maybe opening a barber shop with Rob and kind of getting that side of the industry going in our little town of Tulsa. So it's fun to see my teammates grow too. It's not, the
Yeah.
success isn't just mine, it's theirs. And as long as they're having success and growing, then I also get to do that. And it's just such a joy to have a culture and environment where they want to be here with me and do that and share that with me. So I'm excited to see what the next few years bring. So I don't know.
That's so awesome. Well, congratulations, Francie, and to your team too. You do have an incredible team, and I've gotten to work with, Rob and Charlotte and a few of them, and you're such a great leader. You always include everybody in the process and make sure that everybody has an opportunity to grow with Hello, and it certainly has proven to be successful. So, well, thank you for sharing your story. I am going to open it up for any questions that anybody has for Francie about her journey or what she has really tackled over the last few years to be able to change her business in such a profound way. Let's see. Erin says, "Oh, I still remember our first conversation like yesterday." Erin,
I
Francie talks about that conversation all the time.
I was crying. Who knows what I needed at the time? I just needed help. I'd take anything. So, yeah, it's like, yeah,
Well, you're not alone. You're not alone, And so, we have your story similar to my own, and so many others. It's very common for us to be, we're artists, we're hairstylists, become business owners, and certain parts of entrepreneurship are things that we're really ready for, and other things kind of sneak up on us. And so, it's what you do with those challenges that makes all of the difference, and you have done so much with them and grown so much. So it looks like that's going to be it for questions. And so, Francie, I just want to thank you again for sharing your story, and for everybody who tuned in and listened today. You know, if you're feeling any of those feelings like Francie was before, there are people out there that will support you. And if you feel like finance and driving profitability is out of your wheelhouse, I'm just going to challenge that, because you just don't know what you don't know yet. And once you do know, you can use that information to make an impact, just like Francie did. So thank you all for tuning in today. You, Francie, have a great rest of your week. Thanks again. We'll see you soon.